Stan Minton, a real estate agent living in Los Angeles, has everything he could want in life. He is obscenely wealthy and has a beautiful wife, Mindy, whom he loves. Stan also has a unique ability to sell any property to his clients. Typically, he swindles them for a small amount, which has grown significantly over the years. One day, he gets arrested for first-degree fraud. He is found guilty and informed that he will serve a minimum of 3 years in prison. Desperate to find a way out, he asks his lawyer to bribe the judge. The lawyer does as requested, but the guilty verdict remains firm. However, Stan stages a charity event, which allows him to secure 6 months of free time before heading to prison. After the hearing, the lawyer suggests that Stan take a long trip to Brazil and never return. But he cannot do this as all his assets are frozen. Stan has no choice but to spend the next few months in fear of what lies ahead. From that day, the man speeds up everything in his limited time. One evening, while on a date with Mindy, she expresses her desire to have a child so she won't be alone when he goes to prison. Stan finds the idea absurd, believing they would have to give the child up for adoption when he returns. He is afraid of having children, which enrages Mindy. She leaves after his comment, and Stan randomly drives to a bar. While drinking there, he notices a man with a prison-related tattoo sitting nearby. He asks the man for advice about prison life and offers $100 for the conversation. The man starts by saying that prison guards don't care about the inmates or their fights. Prisoners can beat each other as long as they don't try to escape, and the guards will let them do whatever they want. He also adds that Stan looks like someone who would undoubtedly become the target of sexual advances by other inmates. Stan realizes that all the rumors about men in prison are entirely true. He is weak and submissive, making him a perfect target. When the man suggests he get some tattoos, Stan shows him a tattoo of his mother on his arm, which obviously wouldn't work. The man then advises him to join one of the prison gangs, which could help him avoid some attacks. But since Stan doesn't fit into any of these groups, his last resort is to kill someone to make others fear him. The next morning, he wakes up hungover, thinking he's dreaming. The man is disheartened when Mindy tells him he's still going to prison. To encourage him, she mentions his special quality. He always finds a way out of any situation. This motivates Stan, and he sets himself the goal of becoming a fighter within the next 6 months. Starting Monday, Stan trains daily and gets tattoos on his back to make it less appealing. One night, he asks Mindy to use a sex toy on him so that even if his cellmates try to take advantage of him, he will get used to it. He also joins a karate class but becomes bored when asked to learn the basics. Stan challenges the teacher and ends up fighting one of the students, leading to his expulsion. At this point, he meets an elderly man named Master. The Master impresses Stan by effortlessly punching a hole in a wall. He is the hero's only hope for learning self-defense before going to prison. Stan invites the Master to his home for training. The Master moves in with Stan, much to Mindy's annoyance. On the first day of training, Stan wakes up at 5 a.m. with blood from an animal liver poured on his face. The Master then forces Mindy to mix a bull's pancreas and a horse's tongue into a smoothie for her husband. This training method is highly unusual and unlike anything Stan has experienced. Some days, the hero is hit with a hot stick. Other days, he's suspended by his nipples to test his endurance. The Master also feeds Stan a variety of bizarre foods like scorpions and snakes. Mindy, tired of the Master smoking throughout the house, asks Stan to get rid of him. That night, Stan pretends they're being robbed, making Mindy think she's about to be sexually assaulted. It turns out he's doing this to make her feel what he feels. When Mindy stops panicking, she packs her bags and leaves, declaring she no longer wants to be with him. The Master is thrilled she's gone because training can now become even tougher. Over the next 5 months, Stan works tirelessly without rest. By the end, he even manages to defeat the Master. For his final challenge, he fights the karate teacher who once expelled him from the class. Stan easily defeats him and completes his training. Finally, he is ready to defend himself when necessary. The next day, the Master and the lawyer drive Stan to court. Mindy still hasn't spoken to him, but secretly watches from her car. Stan finally enters the building and is transported to prison by bus. On the way, one of the guys immediately tries to touch him inappropriately, but Stan teaches him a lesson. In prison, he meets Warden Gask, who kindly asks everyone not to bother the guards. Otherwise, they are free to do whatever they want with each other. During the new inmate inspection, the prisoners are asked to strip and bend over. The guards are horrified to see that Stan's behind has been altered beyond recognition.
It's like an alien staring into my soul,
making it extremely unappealing. After the inspection, He heads to his cell and meets his new roommate, Shorty. To assert dominance, Stan orders Larry to move to the bottom bunk. Later, Larry tells Stan about the prison gangs that have essentially formed into factions. The first gang is led by Cleon. The second group consists of Mexican thugs, the third are real Germans, and the fourth group loves all races. Finally, Stan is introduced to the most dangerous sexual predator in the block, Big Raymond, who is currently terrorizing a new inmate. Stan approaches him and challenges him in front of everyone. They engage in a fight where Stan uses the self-defense techniques taught by the master, allowing him to easily defeat Big Raymond. Impressed by his skills, the leader of the German faction, Peterson, tries to recruit Stan into his team, but Stan beats him up as well. Then Cleon's group, furious about Stan fighting Big Raymond, confronts him. Stan tries to avoid the fight, but Cleon orders his men to attack. The guards enjoy the spectacle as Stan efficiently takes them all down. After this commotion, the entire prison starts fearing him. People clear the way for him wherever he goes, and everyone considers him the prison boss, calling him Big Stan. A young inmate named Robbie, whom Stan saved from Raymond earlier, comes to thank him, but Stan yells at him, claiming he didn't fight Raymond for anyone but himself. Later, Warden Gask summons Stan to his office, revealing that he pressured several people to ensure Stan was sent to this particular prison. It turns out Gask plans to acquire the prison property and build a mansion there. Since Stan is an experienced real estate agent, Gask wants him to find any flaws in the documents related to the property. In exchange, Stan is offered early release after just 1 year. Intrigued, Stan agrees to help. He asks Gask how he plans to get rid of the prison, but the warden wants to keep that part a secret. Meanwhile, a group of inmates starts banding together to teach Stan a lesson. One day, while taking a shower, Peterson attacks him with a knife. In response, Stan pulls out his nunchaku, made of soap bars and a shoelace, and easily beats Peterson, sending him to the hospital. Stan desperately misses his wife and wants to see her. He contacts his lawyer to find out if she has filed for divorce. To his relief, she hasn't yet. After this, he starts working on the warden's project. He is introduced to Dang, a politician and head of the Vietnamese mafia, who is Gask's partner in the project and helps sabotage the prison. Stan overhears them discussing their plan to get rid of everyone. He learns that they intend to incite inmates to fight each other, allowing the guards to shoot them. This would force the Board of Governors to consider closing the prison entirely, citing mismanagement. Stan feels compelled to help the inmates, even though they want to kill him. The next day, he organizes a meeting to establish some rules and boundaries within the prison. First, he throws out all violent video games and movies, claiming they negatively influence the inmates. Then, he declares that sexual misconduct will be a punishable offense, and anyone caught doing it will answer to him directly. When someone complains, Stan encourages them to build relationships instead. This concept is new to everyone, but they decide to agree anyway. During the next lunch break, Robbie and several men approach Stan's table to thank him for banning assaults. Stan tries to frame it as asserting his dominance, but Robbie knows he genuinely cares about their well-being. At another table, Big Raymond and his new boyfriend can be seen happily enjoying their meal together. Thanks to Stan, they are in a happy relationship. Robbie and his group, along with Big Raymond and his boyfriend, join Stan's team. After this, Stan receives a letter from Mindy apologizing for everything and expressing her desire to meet him in the coming days. If someone gets into a dispute, they constantly come to Stan to resolve it. Eventually, everyone begins to love one another and live in harmony. One day, Mindy visits Stan and they make love. At the same time, Gask is informed about Stan's activities. Furious that Stan is resolving the inmates' conflicts, Gask interrupts Stan's special time with Mindy, dragging him away. Gask berates him for sabotaging his plan and threatens to have Dang kill him if he doesn't comply. The next day, Stan calls his lawyer for advice. The lawyer advises him to do what he's told, as Gask is a very influential man. After the call, Stan tells everyone that their problems are none of his concern, and they can go back to how things were before he arrived. Soon, fights begin breaking out again. Robbie approaches Stan in the cafeteria, but Stan throws a plate at him, asking him to leave. Even Larry is disappointed in Stan. He tries to walk away, but Stan stops him and warns him to stay away from the metal fence. At 12 o'clock, Larry realizes Stan is being forced to do something he doesn't want to. He informs the other inmates, and they start planning something. Meanwhile, Gask organizes a meeting between Stan and the parole board. While Stan is in the meeting, Gask shows the prison to the Board of Governors. He plans to execute everything at exactly 12 o'clock. as most inmate conflicts occur around that time. He wants to use this opportunity to kill some of them while the board members witness the chaos. Stan pretends to be a terrible person in front of the parole board to leave the room faster and warn the others to stay away from the fence. He is stopped by Dang, who reveals that he, too, trained under the master. The two engage in a fierce battle. Initially, Dang proves to be more skilled, but Stan eventually takes the upper hand and knocks him out. By this time, the inmates have already gathered in the yard with weapons. The guards prepare to fire, but to their surprise, the inmates perform a choreographed dance routine to a Mexican song. Frustrated, Gask grabs a gun and fires randomly. The board witnesses this and prepares to take action against him. Before leaving, Gask tries to kill Stan, but he is saved by Mindy. It turns out she has been training with the master for the past 6 months. 3 years later, Stan has finally served his prison sentence and returns home. His fellow inmates bid him farewell, with Peterson even getting a tattoo of Stan's face on his stomach. Mindy and the master arrive to pick him up, bringing along their 3-year-old daughter. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.